Good evening, my name is Farhad, and tonight I'm going to be telling you guys about why outsourcing hurts the economy. And back when George Bush came into the presidency back in 2001, he claimed that the new world needed an economy that required work to be sent to other countries, so thus outsourcing. And the issues with this is, which brings me to my secondary claims, that sending jobs overseas hurts the job market domestically, is actually helping other countries as opposed to our own, and it puts pressure on domestic issues that we may be facing. Let me start off with my first supporting point in that sending jobs overseas creates a lot less work at home. Within the first year of Bush's outsourcing plan, the Wall Street Journal reported that 53,000 jobs were lost within that first year. That number rising to about 2.2 million after the first 3 years in office, which is actually a lot of work from corporations in the United States. And actually by April 2012, the Wall Street Journal reported that some of the largest corporations in the world had cut their workforces by 2.9 million in the United States while hiring 2.4 million overseas. And this is money going to families and people who aren't American citizens, and this is money that's going into other economies and not coming back to us. And that's actually making it harder for current workforces to maintain jobs because workers overseas can work for so much less and have less regulation, and that's why they're paid so much less, and it's more attractive for corporations to hire them for their workforces. And on top of this, actually for all of us, it's kind of pertinent because it's been harder to find a job coming out of college since this has been going on. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that about 10 years ago, a little over 81% of college students that were under the age of 25 were working, and about 60% of them working within their field that required a college degree and within the field that they got the degree in. About 10 years later, in March 2011, there are about less than 75% of college graduates that have a job at all, and less than 45% that are working in a job that has anything to do with their degree. And with outsourcing and how it's been going, it's just causing college degrees to have less value, which shouldn't be, because education is ultimately the goal. And outsourcing helping other countries, with all these workers that are being hired in other countries, it's a lot less money going into our economy, a lot less American workers being hired and having the money to be able to support their families, which in turn is less spending in our own economies. One of the biggest issues with this is that outsourcing puts pressure on our domestic issues. With so many people out of a job, welfare starts getting used up, and with that, there's a lot of social pressures and a lot of taxes drained out, and a lot of our country's main issues won't be addressed, and that's why outsourcing should be changed.
2 minutes, 11 seconds.
All right, well, the topic is stated, but the proposition sounds like it's a answer to a question, but it sounds more like the question. So in other words, it sounds a lot like an informative statement, and you need to have a clear declarative sentence. You do lay out the secondary claims at the beginning, and I thought that was a pretty good structure to set up, but in the body of the speech, after that first point, I never heard any numerical references to those secondary claims, and they, I think, got buried a little bit in there. You make it sound like there was some plan or program or policy that was passed, and that's responsible for outsourcing. That's what you're talking about at the beginning of the speech, but in the body of the speech there's this whole explanation about how there are economic conditions, that there are changes in demands, there are a whole variety of issues that have altered. So it sounds, I mean, you're given a different set of motivations for the claims on outsourcing than you're starting with, and that seems a little bit inconsistent. So I think you need to be clear that outsourcing is having a negative effect on the economy. That's the main question. How big an effect is it having on the economy? The source of the outsourcing is maybe a different issue, but it's not one that gets developed as clearly as it could. The impact on the economy, there's a second supporting claim that basically says that when people don't have the jobs at the levels that they had before, their spending habits are going to change in some way. I think that's probably a pretty strong argument about the negative effects of outsourcing, but that doesn't get developed as much as the explanation about how the economy has changed. I thought you had a really good set of information about how people are working in industries that they didn't prepare for, or they're not working at all. The explanation about why that has happened, is it because people, that students in particular, or the colleges, have not changed to reflect the economy that we are in, or is it because the economy has changed so quickly that you can't keep up with those kinds of things? And like I said, it sounds like at the beginning you're attributing it to a particular cause, but then later it sounds like it's a more general set of causes. And the term outsourcing covers a lot of different things. If you can identify particular job losses and say they're connected to outsourcing, you need to be able to cite that information a little bit more clearly. And it seemed to me like you're presenting some information that is a little abstract and vague in determining how they reach those conclusions. Like all the IT jobs, for instance, that get mentioned, that sounds to me like it's a condition of the internet. Let's face it, if you can work anywhere in the world and you can do IT, why do you need to be an American to do IT? That's a technological innovation. What we do about it, I think there might be a little bit more controversy on that than why it's happening. I think people can see some of the reasons that it's happening. All right, thank you.